Have you ever been told that you're smarter than your camera? I know I've said it to you a couple of times, but I have to tell you a little secret. We lied. You're not smarter than your camera. Not until you at least have learned and understand how to use your f-stop, ISO, and your shutter speed. Until you fully understand those settings, your camera is actually smarter than you. But the good news is, in this video, I'm gonna show you how to use the different camera modes so you can still get those awesome photos. Will Simpson here, and welcome to Exploring Photography. There is so much false information out there about camera modes that I wanted to take a video and really just clear it up. Because there's so many people that say, if you don't use manual, you're not a pro. If you are using Aperture Priority or Shutter Priority, then you're really not getting the most out of your camera. And while some of this is true, there are several camera modes that each have their own specific function and use. I mean, it's like expecting you to pick up a camera for the first time, switch it into manual, and be like, bang, 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 beautiful portrait, beautiful landscape. It's just not gonna happen. These other camera modes allow you to kind of gradiently progress to learn your camera, your settings, but still get good pictures in the process. So let's get into each camera mode, and I'm using a Canon 6D as an example. So your camera, if you're using a Sony or Nikon, will have similar enough modes so you can follow along fairly easily. There are slight differences, but I just recommend Googling them once we've gone through this entire video. The first mode is simply auto. What does it mean? Automatic. It is very, very simple. You put that bad boy into auto, you point and click, snap, there you go, you got an exposed photo. The camera decides ISO, white balance, shutter, aperture, and every other setting. You have zero control. It is point, click, shoot, done. Piece of cake. Benefits of it, you always get really good exposed photos. Downfalls of it, sometimes the settings get a little funky and you don't get the effect you were wanting to create, or it creates a longer shutter so you get a blurry photo, or you might have a very high ISO so you get a grainy photo. A lot of different things can happen, but the camera is deciding based on what it sees the best exposure and the best settings for that photo. The next one is Aperture Priority. Now on most cameras, it is a simple A on your mode dial. On Canon cameras, it is AV, which stands for Aperture Value. This is simply the mode that allows you to adjust the f-stop, and the camera will adjust the ISO and the shutter to get proper exposure. Now, if you don't understand what the f-stop is and what it does, there's really no point to use this mode because you need to understand what this setting is before you can then use it to the best of its ability. But if you do understand f-stop, use this mode because it allows you to get properly exposed photos and you get to adjust the f-stop from high to low, whatever you want. Now there is another thing you can do in this. You're able to adjust the EV, which is the exposure value. Now on a 6D, I believe you spin the wheel on the back and it will adjust this EV mode. It will tell the camera that you want the exposure to be slightly higher, lower, or just properly exposed. So you can set the EV really high to get a really overexposed photo. You can set the EV to be very low to get a really underexposed photo, or you can just leave it right in the middle. It just allows you to have a little bit more control on the exposure. It's not adjusting your shutter like it shows here. It's just adjusting the shutter to get that exposure value that you want. You're still only in control of the f-stop, so this is just giving you a little bit extra control on exposure. The next mode is Shutter Priority. Now on most cameras, it's an S. On Canon, it's TV, which stands for Time Value, because I guess Canon decided that the amount of time the shutter is open is the time value rather than just saying shutter. I don't know why they did that. It just, regardless. This is similar to the Aperture Priority mode, but this one simply says that you adjust the shutter and then the camera will adjust the f-stop and the ISO. Now, again, you still have the EV function where you can adjust your exposure value a little bit higher, a little bit lower, or dead center, totally up to you. But this mode is simply you adjust your shutter and the camera does the rest. The next one is a P on Canon. It stands for Program Mode. Now, this is an interesting mode. I have personally never ever used this mode. It allows you to adjust your ISO. It's basically Shutter Priority, Aperture Priority, but for ISO. Now, I'm not too familiar with this mode, so if you're watching this video and you know more about program mode than I do, please comment below and give me more information. Again, I've never used it, but from what I've looked up and what I tested, you're able to adjust the ISO, and then the camera will adjust the aperture and the shutter. So pretty simple mode. Again, never used it, and you probably won't either, but it's good to know what it does. Now the next mode we're gonna go over is my personal favorite, and I bet you can't guess it. Nope, that is not it. It is actually the like mode, the one where you really quickly like this video. Actually, the next mode is probably what you did guess, and that is manual mode. But if you could quickly like the video, that also is awesome, and I greatly appreciate it. But manual mode is the mode that most people use. Most professionals, most very dedicated photographers use, because with a full understanding of your f-stop and aperture, your ISO, your shutter, and white balance, you control every aspect of the camera, of the picture. So you are able to get exactly what you want every single time you shoot. Now, again, this requires full understanding of the settings of the camera, because if you don't change settings, let's say you go inside, take a picture and expose for inside, and then you go outside and take a picture and don't change any settings, your picture is going to be overexposed. If you don't adjust a setting here, when the light slightly changes, your picture is then underexposed. You know, everything comes into play. You have to really understand what's going on, and this requires practice. That's why using the other modes to learn is really beneficial. I personally use manual all the time. Sometimes I will switch into Aperture Priority, simply if I want to just adjust the aperture and get proper exposed photos. Normally when it's just like I'm out shooting with friends or just vacation photos, Aperture Priority is pretty much the game winner there. But manual is the one that you are going to get the full capability and full benefits of your camera. But there has been kind of a stigmatism when it comes to manual. People think if you're not shooting manual, then you're not a good photographer, which is bull, but it is kind of a thing in the photography world. But don't pay attention to it, because if you're getting great photos and you're happy with your photos and your clients are happy with your photos, then good job. That is what it's all about, like taking good photos. All right, the next mode is the bulb mode. Now, this is kind of an interestingly named mode, because when you think bulb, you think flash. And it did have to do with that a little bit, but back in the day, they had these little like squeegee things. I actually think I might have one here. Hang on. It's in the camera bag. It's in the camera bag. Anyways, it was, it's like those rubber, I'll get it. This thing. So they had this thing, which was attached to a cable that went into the camera, and this was how you release the shutter. You would pull it, air rocket, got me. So you would squeeze it, and that would release the shutter. As you held it, the shutter would stay open, and then when you released it, the shutter would close. So this on your camera allows you to get longer than 30-second exposures. Most cameras' max automatic shutter is 30 seconds. But if you take a shutter release or push and hold your shutter button, it will actually go for longer than 30 seconds, and you can just hold the shutter open for as long as you want. This is good for really nice astrophotography. You can get those really nice star shots, things like that. But essentially, it just allows you to have a really long shutter. It's pretty cool. All right, the next mode is CA, and this stands for Creative Auto Mode. Now, this is kind of an interesting auto mode. It allows you to adjust your picture ambiance, kind of like the automatic filter that your camera puts on it. You can do like vivid or monochromatic or soft or warm or intense or cool. You have all these little different picture filters that you can add to it, and then you can select one, and then you can shoot with that. Now, all the settings are automatically adjusted, but you can also adjust how much blur you want. It's really interesting. You can decide not by changing the f-stop, but by changing a meter, I guess. And if you want more blur, you go to the left. If you want less blur, you go to the right. It tells the camera, okay, this person wants less blur or more blur, so it'll automatically adjust the f-stop to be appropriate. But this is just kind of a roundabout way of adjusting the settings by adjusting a classification or a quality of the picture you want, and then the camera adjusts the settings to get those qualities. It's kind of a easy way to use manual without using manual, I guess, as you're learning. I've, again, never used this mode at all, but it does sound kind of an interesting mode. Like if I was a brand new beginner and I picked up the camera and I wanted to have those adjustments, those abilities to change, I would probably use creative auto mode, because then I would know if I could get blur or not and add filters and whatnot. But you know, it could work. And the next mode is SCN, which stands for shooting in scene mode. This allows you to simply pick what scene you're shooting, whether it's kids, people, landscape, night, etc, etc, etc. There's several different picture profiles. I'm sure your camera has different ones as well, maybe the same. But this just allows you to pick that scene, and then the camera says, okay, then I'm gonna adjust the settings to this. I'm gonna do night landscape, okay, I'm gonna adjust the settings to this. And it's just kind of an automatic mode that allows you to pick the scene rather than the settings, or rather than the qualities you want in the image, like in creative auto mode. I personally don't see too much use in this one because, I don't know, I just don't know how much I would trust the camera if I was shooting like something fast and I put it on one of the scenes that's quick moving to, I don't know. Anyways, it's just one I've never used, but you could give it a try. It might be a fun one to play around with. It's another one of those roundabout ways to tell the camera what kind of qualities you want and hopefully get them. All right, well, I have 2 modes left, but I wanted to make a quick note. This is a lot of information, so I'm gonna write all this up and put it into a blog and throw it up on my website. And I'll put a link in the description with my website, the link directly to the blog once it's up. Also, I'm gonna put a link in the description, and if you fill out that form, it'll keep you up to date on new things that are happening. I'm also going to send you a free gift. So go click that link and enjoy. And the final modes are C1, C2, and C3. These stand for Custom 1, 2, and 3. These are modes that have nothing on them right now if you haven't set anything, but they allow you to register settings to these modes to quickly use them. For example, if you wanted to have a f-stop of 2.8, a shutter of 1/125th, and a ISO of 400, let's just say as base settings, it's something you use all the time outside and you can adjust from there. Go into manual, adjust those settings. Then go into your menu, go to the yellow toolbar for Canon. So you go into custom 1, 2, 3, then you register settings, and then you pick custom 1 or custom 2, and then you register those settings. Once you've registered them there, if you are in manual and you have all these messed up settings, you switch to custom 1, it'll automatically have those settings of 1/125th of a shutter, 400 ISO, and f2.8, or whatever you set for those settings. But then you can then adjust. It's a manual mode, so then you can adjust from there, but it reverts them to that base setting that you set it. Now, if you don't want those settings registered in there, you can then go back into that same menu and press clear custom settings, and that reverts them to 0, so you can reset them again. But these I found really useful because I do photo and video, and so I have video settings preset and I have photo settings preset. That way I can switch in between super easy. But that's it. That is all of the modes. I know that was so many. I actually learned quite a bit on this video because I had to research some of these modes because I honestly have never used some of them. But they are quite amazing. And as a beginner, use them. Use Aperture Priority, use Shutter Priority, and if you really want to, you can use ISO Priority or Program Mode. But it allows you to use these modes to learn those settings, and as you evolve and learn these different settings, you'll eventually switch to manual or not. I know a ton of people who shoot weddings all Aperture Priority. It's just quick, and they know that they're gonna get properly exposed photos. So sometimes that's what matters. What matters is the image is good and the customer is happy. Yeah, and that's all there is to these modes. It seems super complicated when you first look at the modes. You're like, oh my gosh, that's way overwhelming. But when you break it down and get into them, they're actually really, really simple. And now you understand a little bit more about your camera, which will make you able to take better photos. But all right, so like the video if this was super helpful. Also, I'm not gonna say subscribe because you're probably already subscribed, so make sure you hit that bell because it makes a huge difference. And I wanna try something. I want you to comment on this video because I'm doing kind of a test. I don't want to be one of those YouTubers who doesn't reply to your comments. So I want you guys to try and get me to a point where I don't reply. Send me tons of comments and I'm going to try and comment on all of them. I'm going to reply to all of them, and maybe even my favorite comments I'll feature in the next videos. All right, guys, that was fun. I'll see you in the next video.